We think of secrets as skeletons in a closet, right? But sometimes they're hidden right out in the open, behind what looks like a perfect life, a perfect marriage. And in this case, a simple air vent. Let's get into this. It's a truly chilling story.
Yeah, that's what everyone said about Michael Turner. His wife, Laura, his friends, everyone. He was, the ideal family man. A stable job, great with the kids, basically the kind of person you'd trust with anything, no questions asked.
And then this, a single object, a cheap prepaid phone. That one little thing was about to blow up a 9-year marriage and reveal a secret life that was just horrifying. Okay, so to really get what happened here, you have to look at the two completely different worlds Michael Turner was living in. And believe me, the difference between them it's absolutely staggering. Just look at the difference here. On the one hand, you have this totally normal public life, right? Married for 9 years, 2 kids, steady job, church on Sundays, the whole package. But on the other hand, a completely different person. A cyber extortionist with more than 25 victims, juggling fake identities, making threats. It's like two different people living in one body. So you have to wonder, how does a whole secret life like this even start to unravel? Well, it's never one big thing, is it? It always starts small. Little cracks in the foundation, tiny little signs that something is just off. And for his wife, Laura, that's exactly what started happening. These little red flags started popping up. Suddenly, he's taking these late-night work calls. He never, ever leaves his phone unattended. And if she walks into a room, he instantly locks the screen. Any one of those things on its own, you could probably explain it away. But all of them together, that plants a serious seed of doubt.
And then comes the moment, the one that changes everything. It's totally an accident. He's rushing out of the house one night, forgets his jacket, and a phone falls out. But not his phone, a cheap, prepaid burner phone. And just like that, the one thing he absolutely could not explain away is sitting right there, in his wife's hands.
So when Laura finally gets the nerve to turn on that phone, you'd think she's expecting to find evidence of an affair, right? But what she found was so much worse. This wasn't some messy affair. This was a cold, calculated criminal system. It wasn't about passion at all. It was a playbook. And look at how he did it. This was his system, his playbook. First, he'd spend weeks, sometimes months, building a connection, an emotional bond. He'd become their confidant, the person they trusted with everything. Then, he'd convince them to share private photos. And once he had that, poof, he'd disappear, just vanish. Until months later, when he'd reappear with threats and demands for money. He was weaponizing the trust he had built. And this is the real human cost of what he was doing. This is an actual message from one of his victims, pleading with him, please, I have kids, don't ruin my life. See, it was never just about the money. He was threatening to literally destroy people's families, their jobs, their entire lives. And she was far from the only one. Investigators eventually tied him to more than 25 victims. 25 people spread across 3 states. That's not just a number. That's 25 lives completely turned upside down.
So imagine being Laura, discovering all of this. Your first instinct might be to confront him, right? To scream, to yell. But she did something incredibly smart. She knew if she confronted him, he'd just delete everything. So instead, she sat there and methodically took screenshots of everything, every single chat, every threat. And then she took it all to the police. Now, you have to understand, Michael was careful. He wasn't stupid. He was using fake names, encrypted apps. He was doing a lot to cover his tracks. But here's the thing about the digital world. It only takes one tiny mistake, one little oversight to bring the whole house of cards down. And this was his big mistake. A cryptocurrency wallet. It's basically like a digital address for sending and receiving money. And he funneled all the payments from all these different victims using all his different fake names into the exact same wallet. Think of it like a criminal using 20 different fake IDs, but having all the mail sent to the same P.O. box. By reusing that wallet, he created a direct digital line connecting all of his crimes. For the police, that was the golden ticket, the digital breadcrumb trail they needed to follow. And that's really the key to the whole case, that one single digital trail. It became the thread that stitched all of his supposedly separate anonymous crimes together and led them all right back to him. So as you can probably guess, that one mistake pretty much sealed his fate.
With the evidence piling up, his perfect little facade didn't just crack, it completely shattered. And what's his excuse when he finally gets caught? Get this, he actually said it was just online, no one got hurt. Can you believe that? Just a total disconnect from reality, trying to act like because it happened on a screen, it wasn't real. Well, the court was about to hear a very, very different story. Because the harm was absolutely real. The prosecution laid it all out. One of his victims attempted suicide. Another one emptied her entire life savings to pay him. Marriages were on the brink of collapse. The trauma was so intense that some victims had to testify anonymously because they were still terrified of him. So yeah, no one got hurt was a complete and utter lie. And it all happened so fast. Look at how quickly his world just fell apart. It starts one morning with Laura walking into a police station. From there, the investigation uses that crypto wallet to connect the dots. Then comes the trial, where that perfect husband mask just disappears on the stand. The verdict? 8 years in prison. And of course, Laura filed for divorce. And maybe the most haunting thing to come out of all of this is what Laura said afterwards. The scariest criminals aren't strangers. Sometimes they're the ones who smile at you every day. Just think about that. For 9 years, the man causing all this unbelievable pain was the same person she built a life with. It's just a chilling reminder that sometimes evil wears a very, very familiar face. So it all comes down to this really tough question, doesn't it? If you were in her shoes, if you found that second phone, would you turn it on? Would you want to know the truth, even if it could destroy everything? It's a choice, really, between staying in the dark and facing a reality that could be absolutely devastating.